Okay. Welcome everybody to City Council. I wanted to say Committee of the Whole, but it's not Committee of the Whole. It's the City Council. It is 6:30. I am Rosalba Dominguez, and I will be conducting tonight's council meeting. So welcome everyone. I had asked someone to do the Pledge of Allegiance, but she's doing a service project. She is Carissa from the Boys and Girls Club, who just got nominated or received an award from the state. So she's going to come back and circle around next time I conduct. We keep missing her. This is the second time I've asked her. But she's an amazing person. So I'm going to do the pledge because why not? Nobody's asked me to do it. So if everybody can stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you. Good job, Rosalba. All right. So we are going to go ahead and move on to approval of minutes for March 8th. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, updates?
Are you ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion if there's no comments or changes.
All right.
Oh, wait. Waiting for Pam. Hold on one second.
Hold on. I read these very thoroughly.
Thank
I'll
you.
make a motion for approval.
Hold on, Diane.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead now. Sorry.
All right. Now I'll make a motion for approval of the minutes for the council meeting March 8th, 2022.
All right. Can I get a second?
I second it.
All right. Thank you. I have a first and a second. Do you want to go ahead and call roll?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll go ahead and move to our special recognition. Item number 1, Murray City Council Employee of the Month, Jared Hall, Community and Economic Development Director. Mayor Hales and myself will be, Danny and myself. Sorry, I wrote notes all weird on this, and myself will be presenting. So go ahead, Danny. Okay. Hello, everyone. This feels weird. Oh, I guess I am addressing to the council. Hello. Last time I was here, I was getting elected. I just won, or the oath of office. So this is kind of weird. Okay. So I will read the reason for recognition for Jared. Jared has always shown his ability to diffuse difficult situations with a calm demeanor and soothing voice. It is true. However, this is not all of his talents. Jared is always willing to share his talents and experience, not just in the planning division, but also in assisting the building division with his language skills. He is often asked to help the building division at the counter to use his Spanish language skills and act as interpreter. Awesome. I didn't know that, but yay. On occasion, Jared has been willing to accompany the city building officials to a job site where he has been able to act as an interpreter to help the property owner or contractor understand what is being required. I will say I do appreciate that about you the most on the council. The building division is very appreciative for his willingness to assist them. This is just one of the ways that Jared works to make sure that we are providing the best customer service experience possible. We are fortunate he is a part of the CED staff. Additionally, many of us have witnessed how Jared has the ability to help others understand difficult land use issues and works diligently to help all stakeholders, Murray City administration, citizens, developers, Planning Commission, City Council fully understand the issues and identify the best remedies. All right, I will turn it over to Danny. Oh, yeah. Let me give you the certificate, and we will have Mayor Hales also sign that for you. Here is your gift card, and as Brett says, give that to your wife.
She's supposed to meet me later. It's on the way home.
Well, I asked him if anybody was going to be here, and he said he couldn't get anybody here, so you might as well keep the card for yourself. Put it in your wallet. He said I couldn't. It's on the public airways now, so who knows? So so this started long before the process started to finding a new CED director, and when the other director left, I was asked to serve as the interim director of community and economic development. And one of my first meetings that I had with the building division, I met with them separately, the planning and then building. One of my first meetings, they mentioned how much they appreciated Jared, and the next staff meeting with the mayor's staff, they asked, we're looking for, names of those that we could recognize for employee of the month, and so at each of the divisions I talked to them, and nobody in the planning division mentioned Jared, but the building division said we got to recognize Jared. I'm just kidding about the planning division. They love him. But we needed to recognize, and I went through some of the reasons, and of course, Rosalba read some of those things, and I think it's we don't know the number of skills that Jared has. He doesn't let them out very often. It's the word's out now. He has a Spanish language and he works it, so he knows it and he uses it to create good customer relations with our citizens and with developers and builders, and so he was a good choice, council, as you chose and confirmed Jared as the new director. But we started this before he became the director, or even before we started looking for a new director. So now we're here tonight, and we were talking that maybe this is just, it's always Jared. But it's okay, because I like Jared. He's a great guy, and everybody knows his great sense of humor, and he does have a soothing voice, and you probably recognize that. You know when Jared's talking, you want to go, oh yeah, that feels good. So. So anyway, it's with pleasure that that I got a chance to recognize him with the council, and so now I'm going to turn the time over to Jared, and you better be careful, Jared.
You bet. Thank you. That's really nice.
Okay.
Make sure to take that too.
Absolutely, I will. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say. So my family came for the swearing in, and it took a long time to get to it. So they have trust issues with me and council presentations at this point. But I have to say how much I appreciate it. It's really nice, and the things that Danny and Rosaba read and said, and it's I work with the best employees in the city. The CED department is tireless, and they make us look good. So I have to give a shout out to them for that. And by rules of South America, I have to state that I don't speak Spanish. I speak Castellano. So I think something bad happens to you if you don't state that. So, but thank you all very much. We really do appreciate what you do, and it's nice to be recognized. And I'm not going to tell anyone about the gift card since they didn't come. So thank you very much.
Hopefully they're not watching, Jared. Congratulations.
Jared.
Does anybody on the council have anything to say? No? All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm proud of you, Jared, and I'm glad I was able to present that. So thank you. All right. We will move on to special presentation, and Mayor Hales will be presenting the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget address.
Thank you, Rosalba. It's still strange to hear even Rosalba when you say Mayor Hales. It's almost like it's a joke when you say that. But going through this process has been a really great experience for me. Being on the council for 10 years previous, it's just a different aspect that you get with the budget. And it's exciting for me when I look at this and it reads, consider resolution for acknowledging receipt of the fiscal year of 2022-2023 tentative budget. I love that because it gives more eyes to look at it. And as a council member, I always appreciated that. And I want every one of you to know that we as an administration have full respect for you when you go through this and look at it, that we'll honor what you ask and without any hesitation. So we appreciate you as a council. And I just want to recognize a few people. Brenda, she does an amazing job. I'm telling you, I think we need to give her a round of applause because everyone does great. The department heads were wonderful. Brenda asked that they would come in with some lower amounts, and they came in with just over 100,000. Is that correct, Brenda? It was impressive to see that happen. Now, we saw that happen during the pandemic, and it's hard sometimes to do that, because there's so much need. It's interesting. The citizens are concerned about certain things, of course, taxes, but they're also concerned that their toilets flush, that their lights go on. That is a huge thing. And sometimes we take that for granted. So, and the department heads, I just want to give to acknowledge all the department heads. They were amazing when they came in and presented their budget. So it's going to be an honor to work with you and to watch I think it's on May 4th, you'll be meeting with the department heads. So it'll be an honor to be able to watch that from our side. So without further ado, I'm just here to now turn the budget over to you as a council. And I think that's it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mayor Brett Hills.
Thank you.
I won't get tired of ever saying that. So, all right, we'll move on to item number 2 for special presentation and consider a resolution acknowledging receipt of the fiscal year 2022-2023 tentative budget from the Mayor Hales, and the budget officer, and referring the mayor's tentative budget for review and consideration to the Budget and Finance Committee of the Murray City Municipal Council. So with this, we take a motion.
I'll make the motion. I move we approve the resolution acknowledging receipt of the fiscal year 2022-2023 tentative budget from the mayor and the budget officer, and referring to the mayor's tentative budget for review and consideration to the Budget and Finance Committee of the Murray City Municipal Council.
I'll second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Can you call roll, please?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right.
Rosalba, can I say one more thing? I know,
Yes.
one more thing. I forgot I want to be able to acknowledge our administration, Tammy and Doug. Doug's amazing. Kathy's been out of town. She's been in Scotland picking up a daughter that was on a service mission. And Doug blows my mind. He knew how to change appointments. He knew how to change meeting to a Zoom meeting. He impressed the heck out of me. So I know my decision. I questioned it before if I was going to, but now I don't question anymore, Doug. I'm kidding. Anyway, so thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Doug. And Kathy, she'll be back in tomorrow. And believe it or not, Kathy's family got stuck. A couple of her family members in Scotland, they tested positive when they were getting on the plane. And I think they're there for 10 days. Can I just tell you, we're sad that her family got stuck, but we're very grateful that she's back tomorrow. So that we're thankful for. But anyway, I want to make sure I acknowledge them also. Thank you.
Well, you guys did a good job. It didn't seem like there was a hiccup. So thank you guys. Well, perfect. We will go ahead and move on to the citizen comments portion of our agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Jennifer will be keeping time. So please step up to the microphone, state your name, city of residence, and fill out a required form. I also like to ask if you can, instead of saying your address, you can say which district you reside in or represent, please. Thank you so much. Anyone wanting to come up to the podium? It's pretty fun. Yeah? Nobody? Okay. All right. Well, I will go ahead and now close citizen comments and move on to our consent agenda. And Mayor Hales will be presenting and considering confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Brian Plamadon, to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for the term of January 2022 to January 2025. Go ahead, Mayor Hales.
Thank you. Brian, will you come up? There's a method to my madness of having you come up. I'm going to have you whisper in my ear and say how you say the last name correctly.
Plamondon.
Plamondon. Rosalba, don't worry. I was going to say the exact thing that you said, and I know Brian.
Thank you.
I've been, yeah. So anyway, but we're excited to ask for a confirmation for Brian's appointment to our Parks and Rec. Brian is very qualified. Brian is he's overqualified. He is so qualified in so many areas, and it's impressive. How long have you lived in Murray?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half. He's off of 59th, and you're my neighbor. And let me just tell you, we were impressed when we had the opportunity to meet with Brian, and I know you were too when you looked at his resume. So before I ask Brian to say anything, I'm just going to mention, I won't have you say much, but I just want to tell you that we highly recommend Brian, and we ask for your confirmation for Brian's appointment on the Parks and Rec Board.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Harrell. Sorry, I was just kind of re-looking at your resume. So thank you. And thank you for your service, by the way. Anybody have any comments or concerns or?
Thank you very much for your willingness to serve. We really do appreciate it.
And Brian's also served our country.
Yeah, in the Marine Corps.
All right.
So thank you.
It's nice to meet you.
Yes.
Very nice to meet you all.
All right. I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Brian P. to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for a term of January. Hey, I got the last
Coming
name,
from
I do
Herrecacy,
believe,
I
yeah.
love it.
For a term from January 2022 to January 2025.
I'll second.
All right. Thank you. I got a first and a second. We will go ahead and take the vote.
Aye.
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 I just want to, yes, no, you're fine.
Rosalba.
Ms. Rosalba, I'll be Ms. Rosalba.
I like it.
You know, having a difficult name too. So I apologize first and
No.
foremost, but practice makes perfect.
No
and
one's
that's what
called
I
you
always
anything besides Dominguez. You
So
have,
say it one more time
And-
again for us.
It's Plamondon.
Plamondon.
can I have Brian just come, just say hi real quick?
Yes, please, please come up.
Well, Brian Plamondon, we've already gone over that a couple of times. I actually almost got a call sign from my last name because nobody could spell it or pronounce it correctly. It almost ended up being dinosaur. So Plamodon related to the mastodon, who knows? So just appreciate the opportunity. This kind of derived from sitting down with friends and discussing with them, and then a fortune cookie, and then all of these things kind of came together to just me throwing my resume up to in front of you. So thank you very much. I suppose my time in service is not quite done, which is why I'm here and happy to be here. So thank you.
Thank you. Service is never quite done if you've done it for your life. Congratulations.
For a second there, I thought he was telling us how his last name came about. And I was like, a fortune cookie. This is getting very interesting. My friends
how
talked about it, then I
Herrecacy
saw
came about?
fortune cookie. You know.
All right. We like to have a good time apparently today. All right. We will go ahead and move on to our public hearing portion of the agenda and consider an ordinance amending sections 17.144.020 and 17.144.030 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to permitted and conditional uses in the GO zone. Jared Hall will be presenting.
I warned you I was staying.
That's why your wife didn't come, Jared.
Right. That's probably true.
Continue.
Let's see. All right. Thanks again for listening to me for one more time this evening. And like you said, these are amendments that the Planning Division has proposed relating to the conditional uses and the permitted uses that are allowed in the general office zone. I wanted to start out by making it clear that these are amendments that are just related to those uses. It doesn't have to do with the buffers that are required or the sign ordinance as it relates to this zone or the height or anything like that. It's just the uses in the list and only for the GO zone. That's the zone that you can see here in the blue, that kind of light blue. If I remove all the other zones, you can see it a little bit better. This is a zone that's mostly applied near residential areas and along corridors, higher traffic areas. It's been a zone in Murray for a long time. There's been a lot of development under that zone and its configurations. So most of the stock of the building stock in that zone is older. There are some newer buildings, as you can see down in this right-hand corner. This is the Think Architecture building up on 9th East. Some other buildings. This office complex is located near Van Winkle and 4800 South. And you can see they're usually smaller, shorter buildings. There are a couple of stories, a lot of surface parking, outside entrances for lots of them for individual offices. The stock of this in this zone is kind of starting to age a bit. And one of the reasons that we wanted to bring forward some of these changes was to increase the number of kinds of tenants that these property owners can get. We see higher vacancy rates in these buildings in the GO zone than in the newer office zone and the professional office zone. Lots of offices going up in the CD zone as well. And those attract the tenants. We need to increase the base of tenants so that there are more choices for landlords. There's a lot of different, there's a red line version of this that you've had attached, and that'll be part of the adoption ordinance, but you can basically sum up the changes that we're proposing in 3 parts. First, we would be moving some uses that are already allowed as conditional uses from the conditional use list to the permitted use list. And just as a reminder, and for anybody from the public that's not familiar with that, in every zone, there are uses that are permitted, that are just allowed, and just if you're one of those uses, you come in and get a business license. And there's those that are conditional, where you have to go see the Planning Commission and be reviewed before your use is allowed. One of those conditional uses, or a couple of them that are in the conditional use list in the GO zone that we would like to move to permitted uses, are beauty and barbering services and portrait photography. We don't see a lot of need for the Planning Commission's review of those 2 kinds of uses when they're going to be allowed for licenses in this zone. Another change that we're proposing is adding a few to the permitted use list. Again, like we said, to increase that availability of different uses for those office spaces. Commercial photography, shoe repair, Reiki. We already allow massage and things like that. So we figured Reiki very much the same way. We oddly don't allow life coaching offices or consulting offices. They have to go be considered in some other way or go to the CD zone. Direct mail and other advertising offices, watch and jewelry repair. And a third item, or the third kind of category, would be adding some things to the lists that don't already exist there, but to the conditional use list rather than the permitted use list. And for those, we have dry cleaning facilities, pick up and drop off, body art and tattoo studios, locksmiths, and camera and musical instrument repair facilities. So those are ones where we think there might be issues of hours, or we want to make sure that signage isn't a problem, things like that. So very simple to apply the rules of the GO zone with our conditional use review and just make it clear to the applicants that we have to have those things obeyed. So those are our proposed changes. The Planning Commission did hold a hearing on February 17th. Notices were sent to all the affected entities and to the departments. None of the city departments had any concerns with us expanding that base. They didn't feel like there would be any problems associated with that. And we didn't receive any comments from other affected entities as well. The Planning Commission did vote unanimously 6-0 to forward a recommendation of approval to you all tonight. So we are still recommending that as staff as well. And these findings basically reiterate the kinds of things that I've already said. We feel like these will not cause problems in the GO zone. There's already buffering requirements in place. The sign code is specific for GO zone. They're not allowed pole signs and EMC signs and things like that. They have monument signs and wall-mounted signs. That shouldn't be a problem. The text amendments support the goals and objectives of the general plan, mixing up uses and allowing transitions and buffers to be better accommodating. And the Planning Commission did vote for it. And then again, the text amendments are consistent with the purpose of that zone. Do you have any questions for staff at this point?
You mentioned that one of your concerns with putting those 4 into the conditional was you said signage, but you then said the signage is already very dictated. So
It is. It's sometimes with conditional uses, it's nice to have that reiterated. And when there are violations of code existing, with conditional use, we're allowed to impose. What am I trying to say? For example, when there's landscaping that's missing, or when a sign is inappropriate and going to be used, there are rules under non-conforming uses to allow that to stay. It can't be expanded, and it's a moment when we can get compliance in some cases with things that haven't been in compliance in the past. And it's an opportunity for us to say, for example, that we have to comply with rules about window signs that get ignored in these kind of situations sometimes. We're not out there seeing all of these buildings all the time. So when we bring an applicant in, we get to go over all those kinds of things and make sure they're complying.
And so that's why you'd put it as conditional.
Yeah.
So you want to, okay.
And honestly, too, if we did need to impose some further restrictions on signage, we could under conditional uses. If we could find, if the planning commission reviews that rule, let's say that, I can't think of a good example with signs, but let's say that there were a sign was allowed as a pole sign, but we didn't feel like because of the light that would be associated with that pole sign near a residential area, that we didn't want to allow them to have the pole sign, and we could have the planning commission make a finding that it would be obtrusive. So they would back up a condition saying you're only going to be allowed a monument sign in this case. That's not the case here because you're only allowed monuments anyway, but pretend it were. That's why we do conditional uses, to impose conditions that would mitigate any harmful impacts that we can reasonably expect. Might be signs, might be landscaping, might be parking, might be hours of operation.
When we discussed this at the committee of the whole at our last meeting, my concern was the signage, especially with the tattoos, because you look on State Street and you see signs that say tattoos, and they're not very attractive. So I was concerned about that. And
Jared, can you talk a little bit about why it's tattoo studio versus a tattoo
Sure.
parlor?
Sure. So we generally don't use the term tattoo parlor anymore. We talk about body art and tattoo studios because they do multiple kinds of body art and tattoos. And they're one of the reasons that we wanted to expand the base of allowed uses was that a lot of things have changed. People use, we already recognize this in lots of ways. Estheticians, for example, I'm going to use estheticians instead of body art for a second.
That's fine.
Estheticians right now are covered under beauty parlors. So an esthetician has to go before the planning commission to get approved to go into an office zone. But a massage facility does not. But we kind of consider those types of uses have similar impacts. And there are stigmas for things that don't exist anymore, and tattooing is becoming like that. The way they operate has changed a lot. They operate more like studios and less like parlors. The hours are more like an art studio would be, or a beauty parlor would be, a beauty studio. I'm violating my own language rule. They're more in line with those kinds of uses. So we felt like that would make more sense. Body art is becoming a more expanded activity, and we felt like that needed a change in name too. So, Rosalba, does that answer your question? Kind of.
Yes. I mean, I kind of wanted you to expand a little bit more on that. So,
Sure.
yes.
And with signage, sorry, Diane, with relation to signage, and Gary, because you were asking about it too. Lots of the State Street tattoo shops, they want to be open 24 hours a day, and we don't have an issue with that. In the geo zone, we won't allow that kind of thing typically, and we'd want to control that because they're more in the residential areas and buffering things. And the same goes for that kind of signage. That kind of signage might be intrusive, and we would want to control that through conditional use.
Okay. Any other questions from the council?
Is there anybody here that is going to be moving into the geo zone that would like to speak? Or do we not allow that?
I think I saw Donnell's, well, it's public hearing
It's a
tonight,
public
so
hearing.
you would have public.
Okay.
hearing. And
I was
think
just
saw
curious
Donnell's.
if there was anybody that could
Yeah.
speak on that. We have.
Do we want to do that now, or do we want to do that at the
Whenever you're
public
ready.
hearing? Yeah, we could do it. We can do it now. So Donnell, if you want to come up. Yeah. Oh, open the public hearing first? Okay. All right, hold on. I mean, you can stand there. Please stand there. I am going to go ahead and open the public hearing for any public comments. And again, public hearing. You'll have 3 minutes to come up to step to the microphone, state your name, residence, and fill out a form, of course, with Jennifer. And then you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Oh, and district. So if we already know. Yeah. Just restate what district you're in, Donnell. Thank you.
I'm horrible at speaking, but I'm Donnell Lewis. I am going to be in District 3, Rosalba. I am moving into a geo zone, and I love the fact that it is going to be conditional with a body art studio. I'm actually the individual that a lot of tattoo parlors hate, because I do not believe tattoo parlors need to be on State Street anymore. I am tired of the signs. I'm tired of the actual setup that these places have and the reputation that they are giving. The reason for that is not because I hate them per se, it's because we are missing a conversation between ourselves and like you guys of what actually we're doing. Utah controls the tattoo industry, and no one knows this because of the representation that we're getting. We take care of all the aftercare. We produce all the bottles. We do a lot of the manufacturing for the industry worldwide here in Utah, but there's no representation there. And it's because there's a lot of old individuals that have these tattoo parlors, that want tattoo signs, that want to be on State Street and prime real estate, and they bring down our actual business that's going on. They're not moving with the times. Myself, I'm moving that to something different. I started this about 4.5 years ago in Mill Creek, opening up the first body art studio. Private, no signage. It needs to be appointment only. There's no walk-ins off the street. It has to be professional. We can actually cater to high-end clientele that can fly in, or professional, or in sports, or what so have you. This is what we are moving towards. And there's a lot of people that are, and there's older individuals that want to stay on State Street and what so have you, and fine that may be, but there needs to be a condition if you want to move into a building like where I'm trying to move into. You should have these strict rules and abide by them, so the city will actually allow us in there and be professional. And then we can go to the actual landlords that own these properties that have a mass amount of availability and let them know, these are the rules I have to abide by. These are the timeframes I'm going to have to abide by. This is the way that my actual location needs to look, and it needs to be professional. So what I'm doing is basically trying to set up 2 different categories. You will have a tattoo parlors here. I can't take them all away. I wish I could, but there is body art studios that want to be private. We want to cater to individuals, and we don't want to be an eyesore. We want to be professional, and we want to continue to grow our industry and actually get the recognition, not only as body art studios, but as a controlling entity within the whole world. And it truly is the whole world that this is all happening here in Utah. And my biggest thing is, coming to Utah, I learned that Utah is probably one of the most proudest states I've ever been in. They're proud. Every city's proud of what happens. So the fact of the matter that there's that miscommunication there, I'm trying to bridge that gap. So
Thank you, Donnell. Thank you so much. Anybody else have any public comments about this? All right. I will go ahead and close the public comment now. And Jared, if you want to come back up. Council, do you have any other questions?
I just remember watching your presentation during the Planning Commission about a month or so ago. I was very, very impressed with your presentation, and thank you for coming and being part of Murray. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
So just clarification, the difference between a parlor and a studio is public versus private, walk-ins versus not? That's been discussed a few times, and I want to make sure my head's straight.
There is no formal distinction in our code right now.
Okay.
The way that Donnell operates, it's more of a studio. We call them body art and tattoo studios now.
Okay.
And
Real distinction for us.
I've been working with Donnell for a few months now, and I think it's come a long ways, but and Donnell would offer this to you as well, as if you kind of want to see the difference, you are welcome to see what he has now. It's a beautiful space. It's kind of set up just like a studio. Everybody has their own individual space, and it's sterile, and it's very professional and centered around the artist as well, and not just necessarily as something I just picked up from my friend or my homie. You know, it's centered around the art itself and in terms of what he's trying to promote. So I think it's a great concept, and I think Jared and Zach worked really hard with Donnell on this, and I'm really appreciative and proud that we were able to look at this. So thank you so much, and of course the mayor's office too, and starting that journey. So thank you. Anybody else? Any other further discussion, and we can go ahead and I will take a motion. Oh yes, let me close the public hearing. I will go ahead and I think I already did. No, I did it. Okay, I did. See,
You did.
I did. It's okay, but I'll close it again.
I felt more confident about my nodding head when GL said, yes, you did. And I thought, oh, I'd like to be able to agree with GL.
I mean, I've been trying to remember. So in my mind, I'm like, okay. Thanks, Gary. All right. Well, thank you so much. I will go ahead and take a motion, and then we'll move this forward.
I would like to make a motion of ordinance amending section 17.144.020 and 17.144.030 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to permitted and conditional use in the GO zone.
And I will second that. So if you want to go ahead and call the vote. Thank you.
Aye.
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 Aye. So thank you. Thank you, Jared. Thank you so much in helping us clean our code a little bit.
Yeah.
And congratulations, Donnell. So, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and move on to business item number 1 and consider a resolution approving the mayor's appointment of Ben Ford as the alternate representative to the Central Valley Reclamation Facility Board. Mayor Hales.
Thank you again. This is Ben Ford. Did you all know Ben?
Hi, Ben.
All right, they're all shaking their heads, yes. Ben has been a huge part of. He comes to all the meetings for our. I can't say. Am I on the wrong one? Yeah, I'm on the wrong one. Anyway, sorry, but for Central Valley, and imagine me 3 months ago getting thrown into this, and I'm not kidding you. I walk into this meeting and I'm thinking, I don't have any idea. I was grateful that I've been on the council because I kind of understood some of it, but I'd look down at Ben and see if he was giving me a head nod or a negative. But Danny has been our alternate, and we all know Danny's moving on to a new world. And so we are asking for your confirmation for Ben Ford to be the alternate for Central Valley. So we'll now turn that over to you.
All right. Well, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from the council? No? All right. Of course, there would be no concerns, Ben. So I just got to ask. Anybody, I would like to anybody want to give a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve a resolution for the mayor's appointment of Ben Ford as the alternate representative to the Central Valley Reclamation Facility Board.
I'll second.
Perfect. I got a first and a second. You want to call the vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right.
Thanks, Ben.
Have fun.
Now, Ben, you don't have to stay. And
back.
Brian, you can, I forgot to say that. Usually I'll say, because I know Brian's bored, so he wants to stay. He has nothing else to do. You are welcome to leave. No, every time, usually I say, after you're confirmed, you can get out of here or you can stick around. So that's your choice.
Jared has $50 that he's willing to share. So. Yeah, swig. All right. I will move on to business items. Or what was it? Milkshakes, the dirty milkshakes. All right. I move on to item number 2, consider an ordinance amending section 12.24.180 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to fees for use of the Murray Park outdoor swimming pool. Kim Sorensen presenting. Thank you, Kim.
Turn that off. I'm here to ask you to consider amending the ordinance that is related to fees charged at the outdoor swimming pool. There's basically three areas that'll increase. Adults will go up $1 to $5, children up $1 to $4, and then after our rentals will go from $150 an hour for the first block of 0 to 50 people to $450 an hour, and then $100 for each block of 50 after that. The fees are based on two things, based on the average of fees charged for outdoor pools in the valley, and then the other thing that we look at with the rentals is we make sure that we're covering costs. So, any questions?
I just had a quick question. The jump from 150 to 450 is it because other pools are charging? Like, what are the other pools?
So the main reason for that one is to cover costs, but I do have a list of other pools here, and I'll just give you a couple of examples. Rosalba.
Thank you.
Lehigh City is 4 1/4. This is for the 1 hour as well. West Jordan is 2 1/4. Layton is 600. North Ogden is 900 to 1,600, depending on the amount of people. And the average comes out to $500. So we're about average, maybe a little bit below average on that one as well.
Do we get a lot of people that rent out the pool?
So we have 40 people that have requested the pool this year.
40?
Uh-huh.
And how many did we have last year? How many actual
Well,
rentals?
because of COVID, we haven't done many the last couple of years, and we're not going to be able to accommodate all 40.
Yeah.
We're concerned about being able to hire enough lifeguards, and our priority is being open for the public, but where we can, we'll allow after hours.
And those 40 know about the 450, or they're expecting 150?
40 know about the 450.
Okay.
They are still excited for if you've ever been there, it's a great deal. It's a lot of fun for a private group to use the pool, but
Yeah, it's pretty fun. The other question I have is, is it mostly Murray residents that use it, or is it outside Murray residents?
it's a combination of both.
And could we consider maybe, if you're a Murray resident, a discount of some sort?
We could consider that.
I don't know what that would look like, but
Currently, Salt Lake County, I don't remember the amount they're giving us this year, but currently they give us a little bit to subsidize for lifeguards. So because of that, we've not done resident and non-resident rates at the outdoor pool.
When was the last time we raised rates?
We haven't, to my knowledge, we haven't raised rates on the after hours for
Or just in general
6
too?
or 7 years, and the same true with the fees.
So this was
Fees have remained pretty constant for quite a while.
kind of a ways coming with how we have to
Unfortunately,
pay more for all of our workers.
Unfortunately, that is true.
My only concern is tripling the after-hour rental. I mean,
inflation, Gary.
Yeah,
I'm just
inflation
kidding. No, but
tripled. I don't know. That's my only concern here is, does this make it now cost prohibitive to someone who was going to be able to do it as a family for 150, and now you literally tripled it? So does that move some of our residents out of the ability to use this great?
yeah, that's
So,
why
I have a
don't
lot of
know.
concern there, tripling it.
I have to say, after looking at what other cities are doing, it seems like it's in line. I mean, it was a red flag too. You see a number jump like that, and that's why we're all asking questions and why we ask questions during committee of the whole too. But we're already seeing the pool have to close because of not enough lifeguards, and if we can't pay them enough, we won't be
Okay.
able to offer it at all.
I will also let you know that the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board spent a lot of time discussing exactly what you're talking about, and they determined that where we're still subsidizing a little bit, because even the 450 is covering costs, direct costs. It's not covering the cost of the pool and utilities and different things like that. So
Yeah, and we had discussed that, and you talked about the expense of support staff. I mean, everything that goes into being able to keep the pool open with that many people. I mean, it's a big expense.
it's not going to be any easier this year. But
It's a shocker.
Yeah.
I know. So
Yeah, we're having problems with our daughter's swim as well, her swim team. So I get it. Maybe this is a jail question, but could we incentivize, could we allot X amount for Murray residents or give a discount or how would that look like? Or
Cool. I'd prefer to have an internal discussion about that first before we introduce it tonight.
okay. No, that's
We
fine.
can come back another time.
But we
for
can
that.
come back another time and look at that. Okay. Because I figured it would be a longer conversation. All right. Well, thank you, Jill, on that. All right. Any other questions before I open it up to the public?
It's not a public hearing.
Oh, no, sorry. Why not? Right? Okay. Any other questions for Kim before I take a motion? There we go. No? Okay. I will go ahead and consider a motion.
I'll move we approve an ordinance amending 12.24.180 of the Murray City Municipal Code related to fees for use of the Murray Park outdoor swimming pool.
I'll second.
Okay. Or you want to go ahead and call the roll?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
All right. That comes down to me. I will say I would like to have a discussion on that price or even some sort of incentives and in the future, probably immediately, and revisit that. And so with my vote, I am going to vote aye. With that, it passes. Thank you.
Was that specifically on the 450? Is that what you're talking
Yes. Okay. Yeah, specifically on the 450. I think, I personally, and this is just, let me add this. I also understand Murray City gets used a lot in our park and our facilities get used a lot from outside residents. And we are we're looking at different things coming down the pipeline, and we're going to need more space, recreational space, is from what I understand, even with the school board. And I want to be mindful on the cost for our citizens, as well as be mindful for the outside public that gets to use our facilities. And other cities do this all the time. They give priority to residents first. And I think we should really look into that in the future and immediately. Cause I know personally, there's a lot of things that are going to come up. And I think that's an opportunity. It's a missed opportunity per se.
So just for clarification, you would like us to look specifically at the after-hours rental, not the daily admissions?
Yes.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yes. And then anything moving forward, whether it's any of our facilities, that we need to look at that for residents as well. So, yeah. Any other comments? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Kim. Oh, yeah, we'll revisit that portion. But it has passed, yes. Okay, we will move to item number 4, right? Yes. No, 3. Oh, sorry. I checked it off ahead. I got too excited. Consider an ordinance enacting section 12.24.135 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to trespassing on golf course property. Oh, this one will be fun. Go ahead.
Okay. So again, council, we're here to ask you to consider an ordinance pertaining to trespassing on the golf course. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, and the reason that this has come about is, as you know, we have residents by the Murray Parkway Golf Course now. This will allow us to not allow them to put in a gate on their property and be able to access the golf course from their property. It does allow the parks director and the golf superintendent to allow for people to come onto the golf course. And the only thing that I see us doing as far as allowing people to come on the golf course is contractors and different people that need to come onto the course and do some work. And then there is one situation We have a baseball, softball field next to the golf course on the northeast corner. They have a gate that allows them to come in and retrieve their foul balls. So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Does it work both ways? If your ball goes over onto their field, can you go and grab your?
If we wanted to, we probably could, but we don't allow the golfers to go onto their property. It has a lock, on the gate.
Oh,
so.
okay. Okay. Any questions?
When we say unlawful, what is the crime, I guess? Like, you trespass, so what happens? The police are called, I assume. And what is the citation?
It's a citation. I believe it's a Class B.
Misdemeanor.
Okay. Well, I will take a motion, Gary and the council.
Okay, I will move to adopt the resolution authorizing the execution of a renewal of the agreement. Oh, wait, no.
Number 3.
I
three.
skipped 3 too. Okay, let me
Three.
start again. I will move to adopt the ordinance enacting section 12.24.135 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to trespassing on golf course property.
I second.
All right. I have a first and a second. You want to go ahead and call the roll?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Kim, for bringing that forward. I was thinking there was a bunch of kids that were going on to play golf after hours because that would be fun. But which we should do that one time. Golf at night. Just thinking out loud. Anyways, okay. Number 4, finally, consider a resolution authorizing the execution of renewal of the agreement for auditing services with HBME LLC. Brenda Moore presenting.
Okay, so you have before you a resolution. Basically, our contract with HBME, which we signed in April of 2019 after the council picked them, has come to the end of its 3 years. It has a term in there that it's allowed to just extend for 2 more. The auditor has given us the prices for the next 2 years, including, so it jumped about $2,100 the first year. Inflation's getting everybody, and then $900 the second year. And then he also quoted prices for the single audit, which we get to have because of the ARP money that we are currently spending. As soon as I get that all spent, that will go away. We won't need to have a single audit again. And then he does help me prepare the financial statements. I'm pretty new at this, and there are some complicated things that go on in our financial statements, switching from our fund accounting into something that looks just like a business. So he helps me do that. So what this does is it allows the mayor to sign a contract with him. And at the end of this 2 years, as soon as I get the 2023 audit done, we will go out to RFP again and either rehire him or hire one of the other 5 firms that do this. There's not that many out there that do this in the area.
I said just real quickly, this normally wouldn't come back to you where we have an agreement that is renewable. In this case, we didn't provide for the increased costs, and cost is a substantial part of an agreement. So that's why we're coming back to you tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he
Any-
left the price the same, I think we probably would have been just fine. But his costs are going up, and he can't find auditors any more than we can find lifeguards.
And when you say he, this is the partner?
HBME, the partner, yes.
Okay.
When I say he, it's the partner that works with me.
You've had a good working relationship with, happy with the services being provided.
Yes, and he's got the format for our financials in his computer, and so he gives us a pretty decent discount now on our financial prep because he's got it all basically automated. Not Not completely, but automated.
Yeah, I think he's also a very good communicator. I mean, he's willing to talk with us if we have any questions, and so I've been really impressed with him. I think we made a good choice 3 years ago.
Brenda, typically how long do auditors stay again? Is it?
Well, we had this firm for at least, I think it might have been up to 15 years before. Then we had Kennington and Christensen for 3, and then council decided to put it back out, and so he's been back for 2.
So we had them for 15. They cooled off for 3, more or less. I mean, in the
Yep.
public accounting world, 7 years is the requirement for public companies. 10 years is oftentimes what the big firms hold for private companies. So this is reasonable for what they're doing. But having that 3-year cool off period is a good thing.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Any other comments, concerns? No?
No,
All
the
right.
increase seems low. So I think it's
Yeah,
good.
I mean,
Yep.
it seems substantial. Is there a certain threshold if it were to have to come back to the council at all? Or it's just because it increased?
It's just the cost itself. That's one of the major provisions of an agreement.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's changing is the reason we're coming back.
Okay.
Brenda, one more question. Do we ever have overruns, like where we miss budget and we have to pay them more outside, or has this been all covered?
No, he does not charge us any more than
Okay.
what's listed on here.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions? Okay, I will ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve authorizing the execution of a renewal of the agreement for auditing services with HBME LLC.
I'll second.
All right, I got a first and a second. If you want to call the roll.
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and move to item number 5 and consider a resolution establishing the spending plan framework for the city's allocation of the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds, and electing the standard allowance under the ARPA for the reduction in revenue due to the COVID-19 public health emergency. Brenda presenting again.
Okay, so I realized just a few minutes ago that 2 of the council members didn't see my fancy presentation last time. So I thought I would go just run through it very
Perfect.
quickly.
Thank you. I just said to Diana, I said, did we present this last? So thank you. Appreciate it.
So why are we here? We're here because of the American Rescue Plan Act, which created the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, also known as, we call it ARPA, because that's the easiest
You
version.
didn't like Siffler
No, I didn't like
or
Siffler.
Siffler or something?
Murray will receive a total of $5.7 million. And as I am preparing the 2023 budget, which you actually have, I've made one assumption in there. I would like to include how the funds are going to be spent so that we don't have to come back in the middle of the year and figure this out again. And we need to get it started on spending this. There are time limits. The mayor and I agreed on the allocation, and then I'm presenting it to you for approval. We have 4 eligible use categories, just as a reminder, to provide government services up to the amount of lost revenue due to the pandemic. They actually created what is called the standard allowance. It works the same way as your taxes, sort of, where you can just say, we lost up to $10 million in revenue. You don't have to prove it. They don't audit it. That's just the minimum. The goal of that was there are a lot of very small cities who got money, and they don't have the ability to do the complicated math or whatever is needed to prove that they lost money. And some of them probably didn't. Technically, I don't think we did either. So the Treasury just said, up to $10 million. You can just say it's lost revenue, use it for government services, and we're good. You can use it to respond public health and economic responses, try and mitigate some of the harm that came from the pandemic. Premium pay for essential workers. We could go back and try and figure out who give bonuses to our employees if we wanted to. We couldn't figure out how to do, well, who was there, who wasn't there, what. Everybody stayed employed, all the full-time employees anyway, within, the pandemic. And then water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So they wanted to provide some funding for water, sewer, stormwater projects, along with high-speed broadband infrastructure. Murray is already really close to being built out with high-speed internet through the Utopia network. By June, it will be completely done. But we do run a water company, a sewer company, and a stormwater fund. So my guiding principles on these were, they are one-time money and should be used for one-time things. It's not an ongoing program thing. We're not going to get any money next year. We'll get half of the money, but the year after that, 2024, no more money. The fund should be used on long-lasting projects where possible. The federal government's probably going to pay the debt on these for decades. Your grandchildren's grandchildren will probably still be paying those debts off. So maybe something that's in the ground for 25, 50 years might help, which is what stormwater and water projects do. The use of funds should be simple, easy to understand and to track. That's mostly for me and my reporting to the federal government. The use of funds should benefit as many citizens as possible. So this is what we proposed. $1 million to the wastewater fund for systems improvements. This is to kind of help with the Central Valley rebuild and then being able to do their own projects also. You've kind of already done a budget opening for that last time. So that one's kind of off the table. If you want to give them more money, that can be up for discussion, but you can't give them any less. $1 million to the stormwater fund for system improvements. Every property owner in Murray City pays stormwater fees. So this is one way to, the stormwater, I'm not going to go in and lower the stormwater fees because of this. My hope is this $1 million will offset some of the increased costs of construction that are going on right now. Allow them to bump a project or two forward a little bit, and then possibly postpone the next round of fee increases. Not sure if that will happen, but that is why I want to give them $1 million. And then the rest, 3.789 to of the funds to be classified as lost revenue in the general fund. And then it will just be moved to the CIP fund to be used for either facilities, equipment, or maintenance on the city facilities, which benefits all residents. So that is the suggestion. And then I just put a little thing, it's kind of small, but Stormwater's 5-year CIP requests. They have $925,000, which would basically spend that whole ARPA funds this year that they are going to do. And then there's some bigger projects moved out 4 or 5 years that will help with potential flooding in areas. So hopefully that $1 million will kind of scoot some of those projects forward a little bit. And then questions and
anybody have any questions?
I have some thoughts that I wanted to go over with this. I understand the $2 million allocations. I guess the 3,789. I just hate the idea of the money not going to work right away or as quickly as possible. And so my thought around that really is, you mentioned it was allowed to be bonuses for staff was one of the permitted uses. I just wonder if we need to go back and look at that harder to make sure that's something we can do, because our staff work really, really hard. And so I don't understand why we wouldn't go back and take a look at that. The other piece was around broadband. I know that we have broadband throughout the city, or it's about to be for Utopia, but would it be beneficial for us to have public hotspots or something in certain areas?
That is an ongoing cost. You might not think it is,
Right.
but we're about to, I think the IT guy will tell me, the equipment, it's an ongoing cost. And I'm not sure, I'd have to do some research to see if just providing a wireless network would qualify. It might, probably does.
Other cities have used it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just what I remember from the
ARPA,
conference
yeah.
is that they had used it to provide those public
Well, one of the
hotspots.
ways I remember that they did use it in terms of broadband was making sure that Wi-Fi was used in all parks.
We
We
have it in this one.
Yeah, but they did it specifically in their cities for all the parks, and that's where they used their one-time funding, was making sure fiber was implemented in all the parks to be able to have free access to the public. So that's one way that other cities have used it, and one-time funding. Any other questions from anybody else?
No, we discussed this at the committee of the whole, and my concern is, I have things that I would also like to have done. There are environmental things I would like to, have all of our cars be alternative fuels, and so but we can put that in the CIP, and we can use it from there, and make sure it's balanced, and that's my.
Well, even with that, and I will say this, there is TIF funding that there was a part of the conference, there was funding coming down from transportation for that, for a lot of environmental stuff too. And TIF, sorry. And I'm interjecting because that was a part of my presentation that I didn't get to do. So I apologize for that, but I will share that information as well. But yes, Diane, I agree with you too.
So I think we all have our pet projects, things that we would like to see done. And I think the best way to distribute it would be through the CIP. So I'm comfortable with that. Gary?
I just think if we put it in the CIP, my fear is that it sits there for a while, and I would rather it sit as funds we haven't yet allocated, so we're more incentivized to come together and get a plan together and to use it, rather than put it in a fund that it then sits there. That's what I'm more thinking. If it's not allocated, then we have to come together and get it done.
But let me tell you, there's deadlines and get the use.
I understand.
But the beauty of it, this all goes, like Diane said, this all goes through you. You can say, I want to use it for what you just said. It's all available to you.
Right. I just fear that if we don't keep it sitting out there as a bold item for us to have in our faces and know that the deadline's coming, we may not act as fast. Big frustration with government is it moves slowly. And so, this may help it.
So I have two questions kind of to piggyback off of that. What is the CIP fund right now? What's our balance in the CIP fund?
Probably after you, if you approve this next budget, it'll be about $8 million, and that includes this money right here.
So that would include that. And project wise, what are we looking at? That's just for the one part.
The project wise, we're spending probably 11 or 12 million dollars. I don't remember off the top of my head. What I do know is that CIP will be out of money in about 3 years.
And what is the deadline for ARPA funding to be spent?
We need to have it decided what's happening to it in 2024, and under contract, and then spent by 2025 or 6.
So could we leave it in like a part of the line item as ARPA funding still versus putting it into
No,
the
it's going to end up in reserve somewhere, which will end up in CIP.
And then
if you don't,
okay.
That's just the way it happens.
And then when you say that we have the first half, when does the second half come?
July.
So does the decision need to happen now?
It doesn't, but does make it more smooth if we can get this. Everything you guys have suggested can be done out of the CIP fund. The next time we do CIP will be in the next budget cycle, and your priorities can be in there, or we could adjust this one. Once we know that it's going to be there for sure, sitting in CIP. There's nothing that says we can't. I mean, we'd have to figure out, once it's in CIP, it doesn't matter. I guess we could use it for Wi-Fi. It's a government service. Doesn't matter if it qualifies for ARPA. It's a government service. You might want to talk to IT about that. It's a lot more expensive than you think, but to put Wi-Fi in the parks and to make it work, and then in 5 years you're going to be replacing all that equipment again.
No,
I just want to jump in and say I feel very comfortable with the CIP for a couple of the reasons you listed. One is the one-time project, which I think is a lot of the ideas we have, a lot of the ideas I heard at conference, which were really interesting and exciting, but a lot of them do have lingering, ongoing costs, even if they don't like necessarily first appear for it. And there's lots of initiatives that I think we're all interested in, but I think of what do I get the most phone calls on? It's all Danny's stuff. It's all, sidewalks. It's, it's like, it is that, like, that's the core of like the city council, I think, sort of response is fix my sidewalks. Yes. And if this can go into feed any of those one-time projects to speed up some of it. And I saw on Facebook the other day, the Public Works, all departments have amazing Facebook, but Public Works, I was looking at your Facebook the other day and somebody asked, like, when is this going to get done? And they replied something like 5 or 6 years. And the person was like, so grateful. And like, I think for a lot of people, 5 or 6 years would feel forever, right? You're going to take 5 to 6 years to get to my street. Why don't you care about me? Right. But if we can feed that to get some of these done faster, that just feels so right to me. And if there are other things we should be doing, I don't think not moving it's going to impact our timeline. I would rather be safe than sorry in moving it now. I've seen how long it takes us to approve guidelines. I feel like speed is not our skill, and that's a good thing in government. But because of that, I would feel more comfortable moving it now and then continuing to talk about what other things are we excited about and what can we make work. That's where I'm at.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Diane.
I know your concerns, Gary. I'm just wondering if there's something that, I don't know, maybe.
I mean, maybe it's a commitment that we have a meeting to discuss this, how we're going to spend. Like, we've pulled together 2 meetings now since I've been on since February. And I think we need to get another meeting on the calendar where we're going to discuss this piece. So if we have a commitment to do that, I'm happy to move it in. But that is just my concern. I don't want the bulk of the money to just go into another fund.
Anybody else before? Yeah.
We just need to remember that this is for the citizens.
Exactly right.
And
so, yeah.
And that means sidewalks, because in my district, we have many sidewalks that I would like to be put into.
Always our lament.
And so
yeah,
it's for the citizen. That's their taxes and their money.
I agree.
And so.
Well, I have a few things. I've been wanting to have this ARPA conversation since I've been on as chair, and been kind of brushed off in the sense that, well, we'll see where it goes. We have to put it in the budget. We have to get it in so we're not audited. And now after the conference and everything else, I think it's such a missed opportunity, and not to say sidewalks shouldn't be fixed. We already have a plan. We already have budgets for that. And do we need to look at more money for that? Great. Yes, let's do it. Let's look at the committee and do all of that. But I think it's also an opportunity for us to maybe bump up $1 million for stormwater, not necessarily stormwater, but sewer. We have a huge increase to our citizens and their utilities every month. And that's such a great opportunity to like increase that amount that we didn't have before. And so I think that's one for me. And utilities are going to increase in general. We're looking at it for power. And, our resident, that's kind of the concern that I've gotten from residents, and in the sense that those are the calls and emails that I've gotten, and how do we use ARPA funding? And then coming back from the conference, I would like to sit and discuss how we use it, because it is our decision that we get to make, and it does have to pass through this body, and we should look at it. I think I definitely think there's a great opportunity to still put a couple million in the CIP fund. But I think there's also a great opportunity to take a couple 100,000 and use it for nonprofits too that have been struggling within our city that need that support. And that's not necessarily going to come out of the CIP fund. So I think it's just a missed opportunity, and that's kind of how I've been looking at it. And whether I was a part of the discussion or not originally, I've been trying to have this discussion on the onset. So
Well, there's been meetings that have been planned and they've been canceled or they've been rescheduled or whatever. But I know that there has been meetings that have been planned. And my question to you, Brenda, or to GL, can we put some of that money into a nonprofit? Is that one of the things that we could do with that ARPA money?
I think we could do it if they could prove that they had
Some kind of hardship?
Some grants are tough to monitor and stuff to prove that they had some kind of hardship.
we did it through for the businesses. We gave some money.
That was a different.
I know that was different funding and different parameters.
So let me just say this ARPA, what we're talking about tonight is so expansive with the rules. And where Brenda said, hey, they're not going to audit us if we choose to say this much for services, that's true, but they will look at how we spend it. And so instead of deciding tonight, I like the idea of coming back to a meeting specifically for this and discussing it. And then if you're going to make a decision later. But yeah, there are a lot of moving parts to this. This is not something you just, and I know Brenda's given this a lot of thought for a long time.
Yep.
So I think in another setting, it would be probably more fruitful to have this discussion.
So once it's in CIP, though, it could be moved again if we ultimately decided we wanted to give Murray staff a one-time bonus.
Oh yeah, you can go back.
Understood.
But also remember, the idea behind this is to spend it. That we're not allowed to just let it sit there idle. So
Yeah. So yeah, if it does go to CIP. Now, if you wanted to give more to stormwater, they would love it. If you wanted to give a little more to wastewater, they would love it. They have plenty of projects to do.
But it needs to serve the whole city.
Which is stormwater. Stormwater serves the whole city. Wastewater, that's why I didn't suggest any water projects, is because water only serves a portion of the city.
Yeah, ninth and above.
Ninth and above does not get affected by wastewater, at least not directly. Some of those fees do get transferred to the general fund, but in general, but stormwater, those projects affect everybody. And a lot of, I think the county, when they above 90s, there's not a lot of storm drains up there, from what I understand. And so we're catching up on some of those, some of that stuff up there. But there are plenty of stormwater projects. So if you wanted to shoot them a little more, that's not a problem. Once it goes to CIP, it can sit in a block of money. You guys can discuss it, have a meeting and discuss it, and we can do it as part of the next budget. When we're discussing CIP in the budget meetings, we can have another one and you guys can allocate that. And then you've also, what you haven't seen yet is we've had to budget $5.2 million to do the Murray Theater. That's a chunk of change until we can get some donations in here. So there are a lot of projects that you guys have already said that you want to do that this money would help. So.
All right. Well, anybody else? No? Okay. Well, I would consider a motion.
I would like to make a motion for a resolution establishing the spending plan framework for the city's allocation of American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds, electing the standard allowance under ARPA for the reduction in revenue due to the COVID-19 public health emergency.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Any other discussions on those motions? Or Diane?
Thank you. Okay, so it goes to the CIP. The CIP committee meets how often?
Well,
We haven't met.
they haven't met yet because of an illness, and so now you can do it. The budget notes that I put in there basically said you can do the CIP committee as a whole. So all 5 of you, when we're in those meetings, can decide what the CIP projects you want to approve or disapprove. Or they usually meet at budget time. So we could meet in between now and when we do the budget, the tentative budget on the 18th of May, and make a decision about what, and then you guys can, if you're going to meet as a whole, you could have a meeting about what to do with this 3-point whatever.
So for CIP, it's can you explain what we can use those funds for CIP?
Anything.
Anything but stuff that's in the, it's mostly streets, parks,
It's one-time projects, right?
one-time projects, maintenance.
Okay.
Right.
Any other discussions?
No.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I will go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye.
No. All right, that has passed, and we look forward to coming together later and further discussion and working with the CIP committee on that. All right, I will go ahead and move it over to Mayor Brett Hells for your report.
You've heard enough from me, so thank you. We appreciate all your work and look forward to working with you on the budget now. So thank you.
Thank you, and we are adjourned. So thank you so much. Have a great day, evening.